You are comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, from Alameda, California. Not originally from Alameda, California, originally from New York, New York, where my first guest today, and his name is Marty Rose, and he's from New York. And not only is he from New York, he and I went to the same grade school together back some, must have been at least 25 years ago, right, huh?
Yeah, at least. And junior high and high school.
Right. But literally from the first grade on, I think you had Miss Devlin in the first grade or Miss Ross in the second grade for sure. We go back to Jackson Heights, New York, and we talk sports back then more than anything else. But over this past week, because of my newfound Twitter account, due to the fact that Mert's on Twitter and not on Facebook, so I keep up with him on Twitter, I find out that Mert is a maven. I know you've been putting stocks and stuff into the computer for AP for literally, how many years? 40-some-odd years now.
I've been with the company for 41 years, and yeah, I've been doing similar work all that time, and I'm the market tables editor right now, and yeah, it's what we do. We have to keep the computer up to date with all the current things that happen on the stock markets, and we produce the printed stock tables that still appear in some newspapers. You know, a lot of them have stopped it, but you can still find some information in your local.
And certainly on the internet. And you've compiled this. You introduced. We were just chatting a little bit before going on. You introduced a phrase to me that is new. I'm such a financial schmeckler who doesn't follow this stuff, doesn't have savings, but what do you compile a calendar for a certain transaction? What is that?
Well, we do all the changes for, all the listings for the major exchanges, but you're talking about the listing of initial public offerings, which...
Okay, so this is the first time that a company is going public, am I correct?
That's correct. There were private before, and they got enough investors together to take the company public, issue stock, and it's a whole big deal. As a matter of fact, on Friday of this week, there's a big Chinese company called Alibaba, which is kind of like the Chinese Amazon. They're going public.
Right.
It's like the biggest initial public offering in history. The biggest, number one.
Bigger than Facebook and all that?
Yeah, much bigger. Yeah. If all you got to do is put on CNBC for the next day or two, especially Friday morning, and that's all they'll be talking to you. That's all they'll be talking.
Wow. Wow, very interesting. Now you Twittered some stuff, and you follow these companies as they come along, and is there a trend to which company is going to do well? Is there anything you notice? I mean, I'm not looking for any tips, because for me, saving,
lately I can,
late. these are the years that I would have saved for if I gave a flying fig back then. And it's interesting that now I do happen to give a flying fig because I ain't got none.
Yeah.
So, but this.
I'll give you an example. This week, besides that Alibaba that's going on Friday, there were about 5 other companies that went public this week. Every one had something to do with the medical or pharmaceutical field. So that's very hot lately. Very hot.
Wow.
Wow. And in fact, there was. Go ahead. No, I was going to say these are research companies primarily, or companies that have developed a drug that they could run with. That most of them are in the process of developing drugs for any number of diseases, and you got to be lucky. These things can go either way. They score big on a big drug. You can make a lot of money, but a lot of the drugs fail in testing also. So that can be a drag. But I mean, there was one today called Terkel Pharmaceutical. The thing went up like 58% in one day. From what the people sitting around the table thought the price should be. In other words, the price they brought it to market at. And once it went public, the investors thought better of it, and they pumped it up 58%. So, stuff like that happens.
Well, what did they attribute that to?
Say again?
What did the investors, what did they attribute that to?
Well, it's all speculation on what they think the company is gonna do in the future. When it's trading for the first day, it's the people buying the stock think that the stock's going to go higher more than the bankers and such sitting around the table that came up with the original price to take it public with. So, the market makes the value. Once people start buying the stock, that's what says what the company's worth, not what a bunch of guys sitting around the table think, So.
If you were going into the market, if you were a kid, 25, 30 years old, young family going into the market as an investment opportunity, what would you recommend to look for in a broker maybe, or in a trend of stocks to buy, or is there anything? I think
like a young family, maybe looking for income, rather than take a chance on a risky stock possibly, but look for stocks that pay good dividends. There's a lot of companies, especially in the energy field. There are a lot of what they call master limited partnerships, where these companies, they pay out a decent dividend amount. They can yield 7, 8, 9% sometimes. So those are the ones that they stay pretty constant, and they these guys.
And conversely, what would you stay away from under the same circumstances?
Well, I mean, you have to look at what types of businesses are not doing well, at a certain period of time. Like let's say if there's not a lot of building going on, you stay away from your Caterpillars and that kind of thing. You got to see what's going on in the country at the time. There's a lot of things to look at. So banks have been doing well lately. Like I say, the drug companies are usually doing well. Specialty food companies are doing pretty well. A lot of your big construction type things may not be doing so good at this time, but you got to look at trends, what's going on in the country. There's a lot to look at. I'm not an expert on particular companies, so I couldn't.
No, I didn't mean. I was just talking in general. Hey, Mert, let's get into a little sports. The candy store of life always has been for us. Jack and Manny's notwithstanding, Mert and I would stand out in front of Jack and Manny's in the corner there, and as kids, and the other guys would come out. We just talked ball for hours and hours. Teams, everybody had a favorite team. How do you see, we'll get to the Mets because Mert and I, the original New York Met fans from 1961 when they announced there was going to be a team. We fell into it right away, and we missed the Giants and Dodgers. The city missed the Giants and Dodgers. It was terrific to get a team back. I was just thinking about some of those early teams, the 62 and 63 teams.
A lot of disappointing years.
Right, and they shouldn't. I mean, they had very, very decent pitching, you would have thought, with guys that were top-notch prospects in other organizations, the Jay Hooks, the Alvin Jacksons, the Roger Craig was a pretty darn good pitcher, Bob Miller. They just played. The position players all were old in a hurry.
In those days, the team was, they were washed up when they first got here. Really,
right.
First couple of years. So,
and their drafting idea was to throw some fans in the stands and get some old Dodgers.
Recognizable names, yeah, but
right.
They were all over the hill, basically. So, but
well, ironically, it got good in such a hurry, and by 1969, they won it. Gil Hodges was the manager, and there's a big push going on. I think this is the last chance that Gil Hodges could get into the Hall of Fame, and the voters are looking at guys like Torrey, who made it both for his playing and his managing.
Yep.
And I think Gil Hodges, and I'm an old Giant fan, so it took a lot to convince me, but looking back on Gil Hodges' career, the overall career, getting them across the line to finish first in 69, as it were, was a major managerial feat. I think Gil should be in the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, there's other guys in the Hall of Fame that have similar statistics to his, and when you got a guy like Bill Mazeroski, who's known for one thing in his life, is in the Hall of Fame.
He was a great fielder, though, Mert. He was.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, not because others are in there like Enos Slaughter that may not be qualified. Even Rizzuto and Reese took them a long time to get in. But on his own merits, he was probably, when Musial was playing left in the 50s, probably the best first baseman year after year. He was tremendous defensively.
Right.
He had a lot of help in that lineup. I mean, from top to bottom, that was cram-filled with greats.
Definitely.
I mean, Campy and Ferrillo and Snyder and Robinson and Gilliam setting the table with Reese and terrific. So, and he was a major part of it. And just as a human being, for Christ's sake, could not want a better human being who tragically died very, very young.
Yeah, it was sad.
And that's another thing with the Mets. I think they named the manager at his funeral. They named Yogi Berra to manage. I mean, give it one day, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the Mets.
Look at the future.
What?
You know, the future for them with the young pitching that they have looks really promising.
Looked nice for a while. We both got on the Buddy DeGroom, Jacob Buddy DeGroom bandwagon very, very early on. I'm very proud of us for that. This guy could be Rookie of the Year in the National League. A pitcher.
He could.
Yeah.
So, I mean, take the 5 starters that they got now, Cologne, Wheeler, Neese, DeGrom, and G, and then you add Montero and a couple of guys from the minors that will be in camp next year. Syndergaard, who was
up for a while,
and this kid Matz. They got another kid, Steven Matz. He's actually a Long Island kid, I believe.
Oh, really?
He played at Binghamton, I think, this year. So he's going to be in camp. So they got, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to trade somebody, at least one of those guys. They need a shortstop and they need a left fielder. Now, everybody's talking about Castro from the Cubs.
That would be very nice. I've followed him for a long time.
Probably available because the Cubs made that deal with Oakland, where they got like the top shortstop prospect in all of baseball. So,
Addison Russell, absolutely.
So if they make Castro available, I'm sure the Mets can part with at least one of these pitchers and throw in somebody like Flores, who seems to be coming on as a hitter, but really doesn't have a position here. They're playing.
Well, he could be an American League player down the line, and
he's not a shortstop, And,
right.
And they definitely need a left fielder. So I don't know what they're going to do there. But
I wish they would have gotten Cespedes from the A's. I think had they given up a Zach Wheeler, they might have been able to get Cespedes. But then again, it took.
They could make a trade with the Red Sox. I mean, I'm sure they'd like one of these young pitchers or something like that. I'm sure they could put something together. But I don't know. I think Alderson just doesn't want to. I think he might be afraid to, pull off a really big deal. I don't know if he's got the cojones for it. Truthfully.
Right. Well, he did very well in Oakland, and he's been there about 4 or 5 years now, so it's getting time to really have them make a move. And I think that with pitching, your window of opportunity is always going to be a small one for reasons that come up. We don't know about them yet, but keeping a pitching staff together for a long time is very difficult. And Harvey's going to be back.
These guys are really young. I mean, Wheeler's 24, DeGrom's 26. Even G's only 28. I thought he might have been older than that. And Neese is only 27.
How old is Neese?
27.
27. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Neese must have 5 years experience. I think he's a good anchor to keep on to.
This kid Matz is a left-hander, so they got another left-hander coming up. And the bullpen is much improved, The bullpen is very much improved.
Hayes has been terrific. Yeah, it's very nice. It's a nice position. It's nice to go through a season, and they still could, with some sort of miracle, they don't have to play Washington anymore, to the best of my knowledge. They still could finish at 500, and which obviously is a mediocre year. If you look back at the beginning, you'd have wanted more. But what I see with the young pitching and the fact that the catcher, D'Arnett, developed after a horrific start. If Granderson and Wright had decent, not great years, decent years, they could be looking at, average for them. They could be, and should be looking at a wild card berth, because outside of Washington in the East, there's very, very little real powerhouses. And talking about Pittsburgh is inconsistent. Giants and Dodgers both incredibly inconsistent all year. How do you see that coming out at the end?
Jeez. I don't know. The Dodgers seem to have pitching injuries, you know. I think they only got like 3 healthy guys. I mean,
but they've got Kemp back, and Kemp really has made a difference.
He's been hot lately. Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
But
it's been a while for him.
Kershaw, Greinke, and Herron are the only ones that are pitching well. I think Ryu might be hurt again. He just came back. They started some kid out of the bullpen today, and he got his ass kicked in the first inning. I mean,
with Dodgers, they lost big today. That was nice.
8 runs in the first inning. So.
Yeah, Giants have a lot of leaks too. Kane is out for the year. Lincecum has been absolutely garbage. He throws a no-hitter earlier in the year. He's doing decently, and I don't know if he's a head case or if they're holding back an injury. But he's been very useless. Vogelsberg is good, Vogelsong or whatever his name is, and the bullpen is Castillo. I think is terrific. Romo is one of those guys that lost his his closing job. Could care less. Just wants to contribute. There's no ego involved. I felt not having the greatest of years, but their bullpen is solid, and Hunter Pence. Boy, if the Mets could get Hunter Pence, that would be very, very nice, and maybe even hope that Granderson has a good year next year and comes back, because Lagares is terrific in center field. He can hit a little bit. They're not that far away from maybe a guy like Cargo or someone like that. That would be nice.
Yeah. I think they were talking about one guy, I can't think. Some guy in Colorado, not Carlos Gonzalez, some other guy that
Tulowitzki, the shortstop?
No. He's an outfielder. I'll never think of his name, so it doesn't matter. But
was he with Minnesota?
Nothing great.
Was he with Minnesota?
Oh, maybe.
Godiva?
Yeah. Apparently, he's very close with close friend of David Wright. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's better. You know, he'd be better than whoever they got now. That's for sure.
Well, David Wright needs to turn things around a little bit next year. He had a very mediocre year, and
he was hurt for most of the year. So shoulder injury, but I think he's also psyched out by the ballpark because. His power to right center, that's like the biggest part of this ballpark. So,
Well, I read somewhere that they're thinking about placating him and making some changes.
They were thinking about it. I don't know if they're going to do it or not, But
there has to be big bucks involved there. And for some reason, the Wilpons seem to have gotten out of trouble, and they seem to be on better financial footing, but they certainly haven't gone overboard in terms of putting it into the game. And I'm glad. I wanted to make one more onto the field, let's put it that way, putting their money onto the field. Wanted to make one point. They gave up Marlon Byrd earlier in the year, and Marlon Byrd was very decent and could have helped them a lot. So I'm glad to see one of the guys that they got for him, the young second baseman, Herrera, is doing very well. And
he's only 20, you know.
Yeah. So that would be nice if that turns out nice, because they gave up a big part of their batting order in Marlon Byrd, who's a pretty underrated guy. Gives you 25 home runs a year.
And a very good year for them last year, yeah. And a very
so
yeah.
I'm glad they got something good for him, and because Alderson, especially with all the guys that they had, that they hired under him that were former GMs all over the league, successful guys at the A's before, wanted things to move a little faster than they had in this regime, being as impatient as I've always been.
Yeah, they did build up the farm system pretty well, I'd have to say, but we haven't seen the results on the big club yet, so maybe. Do you ever get out? You live in Staten Island. Do you ever get out to the Staten Island team? The Yankees have a farm team and the new stadium in Staten Island, and the Mets have one in Brooklyn in the same league. Do you hit those games at all? Yeah. Well, I haven't been to the one in Brooklyn, which is in Coney Island, and it's a very nice place, and they draw very well. The one here in Staten Island, I've been to a number of times. It's right next to the Staten Island ferry terminal, right on the water.
Wow!
You can see the skyline of the city, across the water, and it's a very nice ballpark, and it's good baseball. It's young kids for the most part. And,
a high A league, so. Very, very good competition. If they do well there, it's right to AA, and from there, you see them advance quickly, and that part is very, very fun. You can think back whenever I saw this guy when he first got in and all that.
Yeah, the Mets the first round pick this year played in Brooklyn. His name is Michael Conforto. And
I've heard the name, yes.
He went either to Oregon or Oregon State. I don't know where, but he's not a high school kid. He went to college for a few years, and he hit like 340 down there, and they're pretty high on him. So he might be ready in another 2 years or so.
All right. I think we can be. I want to talk to you before we part ways here about Derek Jeter, and I think we can both be very objective about him in analyzing him, because although you got to be a Yankee worshiper for the last 50 years, with what they've given New York in terms of dynasty after dynasty after dynasty, but we're both not Yankee lovers per se, so we can be objective, and I think Jeter was absolutely had an incredible career, and you're just incredibly solid. The best shortstop the Yanks ever had, including Rizzuto. So it kind of sad that his last year he doesn't get into the playoffs.
Yeah, he's down to 249 this year. So he may have stayed 1 year too long, but I know he wanted to come back after that bad ankle injury that he had. But yeah, he had a terrific career, no question about it. Was he number 6 all time on the hit list? I mean, it's insane. Insane.
That's
looking at the names. Holy crap!
And he handled the whole Rodriguez thing with a whole bunch of class.
His whole career was class. I mean,
yeah.
You never heard in 20 years. You never heard anything bad about him. Nothing.
Right. Right, and as witness to, each team that he goes in for the final year, they talk about him. One guy said, I don't remember who it was, says the other day, he's not just captain of the Yankees, he's captain of baseball. He should be captain. Just one of those once-in-a-lifetime things, and so I just wanted to mention that with you and just hear the enthusiasm in your voice, too. Yeah, not one person has ever said anything bad 20 years in baseball. And he got to have his fun, and he didn't take it to the streets in a negative way.
No.
I mean, he...
right, never got in trouble, and...
Right.
He's respected by everybody. You could see the respect from the other players, even. I mean...
And he's had a lot of women in his life, and none of the women are screaming at him and going, what an asshole this, and led me to believe this and that. He just, the class. So, as are you, Marty Rose, AP, New York, New York. Thanks for being on when you're on, and as you know, you've been a major additive to my life, and certainly to the show as well. So, till that time, I'm going to end the segment as I do everyone. Keep your humor dry and your dreams wet. Keep your kids out of military recruiting stations. Who was the sergeant in Flushing that got us?
Palengayan.
What was his name?
Palengayan, something like that?
Something like that.
Like a Filipino guy?
Yes, what a memory. What a memory, Mert. We're talking 1966, 65 for me, 66 for you. And
7, actually, yeah. 67.
Oh, were you in... Oh, wow. Wow, I was in November of 65. Holy shit. It does, in some ways, seem just like yesterday.
I know.
Yeah, that was as close to the pronunciation. Yeah, something with an A at the end or an O at the end. And he had been to Vietnam. He knew about stuff, and I can remember him saying things like, "Well, no problem. If you go to Vietnam, they'll have the Army protecting your base, and then they'll have the Marines Act protecting the Army. So you'll be safe as shit." But they didn't say anything. He was right about that, but he didn't say anything about mortars.
No. That's true. That's true.
And he didn't say anything about poison gas. Monsanto made poison gas that they were spraying on the Vietnamese, and they didn't realize, that stuff's in the air. So,
Agent Orange.
Yeah, no joke. We could have a month's worth of shows about the veterans and what they provide and how they've let the kids down over the years, and how to fight for the right to get, even though you recognize that there was a negativity to Agent Orange. There were veterans dying before they could get benefits, with that denying that there was an Agent Orange. It's fucked. So in keeping with that, keep your kids out of recruiting stations, and off the laps of clerics wearing dresses just to be on the safe side. You never know. They could just be having a picnic and frolicking, but just to be on the safe side. And most importantly, Mert and everybody else, keep on keeping on. Love you, bro.
Have a good one.
Talk soon.
All right. Be good. Bye.